Greg Rasmmanson was born in England but came to Africa as a young boy. For the past 12 years, he's dedicated himself to saving a rare species of African dog on the brink of extinction.
I've always been passionate about wildlife from day one. I mean, even as a child, I love the bush, I love Africa. It holds an endless fascination. I mean, it's always changing, and there's just so much to learn. It's like a book that just never ends.
Greg is one of the few pilots in the area, and even though he's busy with his own project, he's agreed to help a fellow conservationist search for a lost rhino.
People very concerned about the rhino, and National Park said, would I assist? And I said, of course I will. If wildlife needs help, I'll help.
Greg's a capable pilot, but flying a plane and tracking animals requires intense concentration, and he'll be flying over unfamiliar terrain.
And I was aware of that, I was fully aware of that, but we had rhinos that needed locating. There were poachers out there. I mean, you can't turn your back, I can't turn my back on things like that. This was a very harsh, dry, rocky, rugged area. I'd never flown that area before, and I realized I was in a completely different territory.
The rhino is electronically tagged, and in no time, Greg's tracking device picks it up.
I just found it. I hadn't actually seen it, but I realized that it was alive by this movement signal. And I was just starting to circle out. And as I turned the plane, suddenly I went into something known as a wing storm. Literally, one wing's flying and one wing isn't. Suddenly I had this gut-wrenching feeling. I put full power on the rudder. Pulling back on the stick, I was doing the right thing, and it wasn't working. And the plane started to go down in a spiral. And the ground were coming up pretty damn fast. And then there's a split second. You know you passed the point of any return. I almost didn't want to open my eyes. I didn't know what I was going to see, what I was going to feel, what I was going to find. I was totally dazed, stunned. And I was like, I'm alive. I'm alive. And at that second, petrol started dripping over me. And I just pulled myself out, literally almost fell out of the plane. As the petrol started to come down, I had these visions of this wall of fire. And I could just see myself being incinerated alive. And I knew my legs were doing nothing. I couldn't do anything with the legs at all, but I just had to get away from this plane. I mean, this thing was a nightmare now. And then I suddenly thought, Mayday. I've got to call Mayday. And I didn't want to go back to that plane. I didn't want to go near it. But I had to brave it, because I knew that that was my only means of survival. The pain hit. the adrenaline had worn off.
On the outside of his body, Greg has only a few superficial scrapes, but inside he is bleeding badly and his legs are broken in 6 different places.
That was a pain that I'd never experienced before. Anything like it, anything that even came close to it. My legs felt like they were going to explode from within. My feet were just doing this. My legs were just one big lump of jelly. And I realized I had to stay in control. You know, I had to be in control of the situation, because if you lose control, that's it. I was going to be a goner. I started to try and take stock of the situation. And it was quite a harsh reality. I suddenly realized there was no 999. There was, you know, if I was going to get out of this, it was only going to be me and me alone.
Greg is over 70 miles away from the nearest road. By the time anyone realizes he's in trouble, it may be too late. The brutal heat of the African sun will bake him alive.
Because I'd got these boots on, yeah, and of course there was no space for the swelling to go. There was no way I could even get anywhere near my shoelaces. But I was thinking, if I don't get those boots off, there's going to be gangrene, and I'm going to lose my feet. I lose my legs. I managed to look back, and I thought, well, maybe if I can drag myself to this tree, I can tilt my body forward so that I can maybe get to my shoelaces somehow. I wanted to stop that pain. Because, I mean, it was like my foot was exploding.
Fate is being cruel today. The closest tree to Greg is a thorn tree. But as its thorns dig deep into his back, Greg realizes they might be useful.
And I managed to just break a twig off that was about a foot long, and it got a hooked thorn on the end of it. And I lay there and I could hardly focus. There was just so much pain. I started to pick the shoelace. I thought, well, this is all I've got. And I remember I had a little flashback to childhood, because I was always absolutely useless with shoelaces. I then realized I had one chance. If I pull and the knot doesn't spill, then I've blown it. That's that foot gone.
Greg manages to loosen the shoelaces and get them both to the same stage, but nothing happens.
I had to remain as focused as I could. And I picked and I kept on picking until I finally got to the point where the shoelace was free.
Loosening his boots isn't having the effect Greg expected. The pain is just as bad because his feet keep swelling up to fill the newly expanded space. He has to try something else.
And as I pushed and I bit, this stick was just rotten. It was full of termites. And my mouth was now even drier than before, and I went, but I pushed with such force. The shoe came off. And I just forced the other shoe off. And lay there. And I looked at my watch.
In the heat of the midday sun, the temperature is now over 100 degrees. Greg hasn't had any water for over 24 hours, and his body is rapidly showing the effects of dehydration.
It was hot and it was dry. There wasn't an ounce of moisture in the air. I hadn't drunk the whole day because an elephant had destroyed the water pipes in our area where I'd taken off from. It wasn't like feeling thirsty at all. It was almost like being tortured. Everything was just so dry, and your skin just didn't feel like skin anymore. There was no texture to anything. You know, you tried to touch with your tongue to touch the roof of your mouth. It just felt like it wasn't there.
As Greg lies out in the open, a vulture, quick to sense a meal, lands on a nearby tree. With the temperature now hovering at 110 degrees, Greg is literally frying in the sun. As he drags himself towards the shade of his downed aircraft, his thoughts turn to other dangers that threaten his life.
Being in the bush for so many years, you get to know absolutely every single noise. You know every footfall. You know which footfall belongs to which animal. I was terrified that maybe something would come and sneak up on me. And I couldn't do anything, you know, I mean, I couldn't run. And then I heard elephants, a whole herd.
It is in fact an entire herd of elephants, and they're moving right towards him.
And I thought, they've got to sense that I'm here. If they detect you at the right moment, that's fine. If they detect you too late, that's the scary bit. Because then you're in their attack distance. And I thought, if the wind is wrong and they don't detect me until the very last minute, that's when I'm in trouble. And then suddenly there was this huge screech of... And I remember just thinking, oh no, please, just don't stampede. And I just had this absolute fear that I'm going to be trampled.
Greg has dodged a bullet. The herd moves on away from him. But within moments, Greg has a new worry. He hears the sound of an animal walking nearby.
It was lion footfall. And I listened very, very carefully, and it was getting closer and closer. And then I heard this call. It was a lioness. And lionesses have a very distinctive call they use when they're calling cubs. And obviously, because she was a mother with cubs, that makes her far more dangerous.
Greg knows that animals in the wild have a unique defense strategy. They make sharp, sudden noises to scare off their enemies. As the lioness moves in closer to Greg, he knows that creating a noise at the right time is his only defense. When he finally sees the big cat's silhouette, he makes his move. With daylight fading, the search pilot will soon have to return to base. There's still no sign of Greg or the wreckage.
I heard the plane. And then I started to get almost excited. And then I thought, no, I'm still a needle in a haystack. They had an area to search of about 1,000 square kilometers. And I wanted to scream, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Hello! Hello! I almost wanted to will the plane in, you know, come my way, I can hear you, please. Hello! And then there was silence. I remember that silence now so well. It was killing. Nothing is going to happen now until tomorrow morning, at the very earliest. And I've got to start thinking about the night. And of course, as a biologist, you know the night is always a dangerous time anywhere. At that point, there was this total silence. I could hear my heart sort of boom, boom. It was that silent. And it made me very conscious how totally alone I was. All I wanted now was for that night to end. I had this nightmare that a hyena was going to come up behind me. I know what hyenas are capable of. Bone crushers, as they're also known. They've got the most powerful jaws of anything. I also know someone who was carted off by a hyena, and he was a fully able-bodied man, but he was sleeping and they dragged him away. That was the biggest scare of the lot, that a hyena might come up behind me. I was terrified to even think about going to sleep because I knew that I wouldn't wake up again. That would be it.
Then Greg's worst nightmare comes to life. Once again, he recognizes an animal by the sound its feet make when they touch the ground. He hears a hyena.
And I thought, it's coming behind me. And it's going to come right in the worst spot. It's going to come round the back, which is where I really had absolutely no control.
Once again, Greg uses his knowledge of animal behavior. He grabs hold of his stick and gets ready to hit the plane with it and create a noise to startle the beast.
And I waited until it seemed like forever. I knew if something came one step closer, then would have meant that I'd failed. Then I heard this, like, just footfall, just getting less and less and less. I remember lying there at that particular point thinking, is there anything else that's going to be chucked at me? You know, what else is going to come? You know, what other brick's going to come down?
Greg does his best to stay positive. In 1 hour, the sun will rise and he will have made it through the night. But it is one very long hour.
And then I heard these footfall. I can't describe. Of course, I knew what footfalls those were. And among them was Peter. And I suddenly looked and I couldn't believe it, that was him. I couldn't even speak to anybody. And people were just saying, what happened? And I just had to say, wing, stall. And that's all I could say.
It was really overwhelming. He'd survived. And it was sort of affirmation of my belief in him.
The feeling that I wasn't going to die was just indescribable. I'd fought this and I'd won. And somebody came up, I hadn't got a clue who it was. Someone put their hand on my shoulder and said, "You're in safe hands now."
Since the accident, Greg has undergone more than 100 operations to save his legs. Through grit and sheer willpower, he has learnt to walk again.
Charlie Hench is beginning the challenge of a lifetime. A solo hike in the Sierra Nevada mountains. With his 50th birthday approaching, he's out to prove he's still got what it takes to survive alone in the wilderness.
I love the solitude. I love nature. I love the outdoors. It's something I always wanted to do. Considered myself being somewhat self-sufficient. And so I think I kind of went up there alone in an attempt to prove that to myself, I think.
Charlie has hiked in the mountains many times before, but always with friends. He knows that going alone will be his toughest challenge yet.
I'm not getting any younger, and I'm not as in good a shape as I used to be, and I just wanted to get lost for a week, walk away my worries.
Charlie's long-term girlfriend of 7 years, Julie, knows what this solo trip means to him.
Charlie has spent a lot of time, I think, on his own and alone. He likes to go and do things by himself. He got this wild hair, this idea that he really wanted to go and do this. And I knew that there was no stopping him.
I remember we hugged and kissed. She wished me luck, told me to be careful, told me she loved me, and I told her the same. And eating them that night, nothing beats fresh fish. I felt real good that first day.
In September, conditions in the Sierra Nevada mountains can change instantly and dramatically. But in his enthusiasm to get going, Charlie ignored weather warnings. By early evening, a fierce wind blows in, and his peace is shattered.
Wednesday night, the wind started picking up. And that's the first time I really felt exposed. You know you're alone, the wind's picking up, you're not sleeping, you're wondering, this isn't any fun, you know? I really became concerned for the first time Thursday when it really started to snow and the wind was just howling.
The wind becomes a vicious snowstorm, and Charlie hunkers down for the night, hoping it will pass.
When I woke up, pretty much snow everywhere. Woo! I got up and literally I was half buried in snow. But the weather was kind of breaking.
Although the skies are clearing, the new snow has transformed the landscape. Navigating the route ahead will be a formidable task.
At that point, there's really no trail. If there was, I made the decision to continue. Get up and over the pass and get down the east side. The weather should be better down there, certainly. So I dug the snow out, packed everything up, headed up to the pass.
Charlie struggles on for 2 hours, but hiking blind across the snowdrifts, he's way out of his depth.
It was just very tough. I realized that I might have made a mistake proceeding. But my rationality tried to overtake me, and I told myself, you'll be okay.
Having committed himself to going forward, Charlie continues on over the hazardous pass. But here, the terrain is perilous, and now the weather takes another dramatic turn for the worse.
It really started to snow, and the wind was just howling. It was just blowing in my face.
Despite the worsening conditions, Charlie is determined to complete his ambitious hike. But as the raging blizzard intensifies, he starts to realize that he's in over his head.
While I was thinking what to do, my face is getting all cold from the wind, and I remember just turning around with the wind at my back. I don't remember tripping. I don't remember flying through the air. I just remember I hit my head. I don't know how far I fell, but it had to be 30, 40 feet at a time. You have no control. You just hope you land and survive.
Charlie helplessly plummets to certain death.
The way I had a chance to survive,
Charlie!
is to get warm. So I wanted to get that tent up and get inside my bag and try and warm myself. I was in such a confined space, there was no room to move. The ground was hard. I couldn't stake it into place and pull it tight like you would normally do. So I finally got in my bag and rubbed myself, tried to get warm and dry off. I distinctly remember, for one split second, realizing how lucky I was to survive. I kind of got warm. I kind of gained my senses a little bit. And I thought, well, I got a cell phone, I could try that.
Okay. Hello.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed. Please call your operator to help you.
And of course, it didn't work. Beep, beep, beep. Because of the lack of the signal.
No. Oh, no.
I became very despondent because I knew at that point there's no way I'm gonna ever reach anybody from the outside world.
Isolated and trapped on the ledge, Charlie is in urgent need of medical attention.
Desire about being up there.
Charlie survives a second torturous night without sleep. But after 48 hours trapped and critically injured, he's desperately weak and is starting to suffer the effects of dehydration.
You stop urinating, your mouth becomes dry. I knew I had to melt snow in the morning and melt snow in the evening, but I only could do it at those times because I only had limited fuel.
In the freezing cold, lighting the stove is already an awkward process. But with Charlie's shattered wrist and suffering a concussion from the blow to his head, it's become a potentially lethal mission.
In trying to light the stove, I spilled a little bit of gas, and so I mopped it up with my bandana. finally did light the stove, the gas beneath lit on fire. So I grabbed my bandana, which was already wet with gas, in an attempt to put it out. That lit on fire, burnt my hands. I released it, and it started my tent on fire.
The fire has burnt the last of his fuel. His only way to produce water trapped on a tiny ledge. Bitter disappointment. Alone and helpless, Charlie can do no more than hope he survives a third freezing night, trapped on the ledge.
I had this little map that I jotted notes on the back. It was like, you know, a little journal, so to speak. I recall noting that it was probably the worst day of my life. I started thinking about being home, being with Julie. I wanted to get back to normality, you know?
My focus was wondering what he was going through and how he was feeling. I was safe. My main concern was always Charlie and what he was going through, what he could be potentially experiencing.
I was really down at that point because I knew I might not make it out unless somebody comes find me. I knew I was lost. I knew I thought, I'm gonna have to try and get out by myself.
Pinned to an icy ledge, Charlie Hench realizes that rescuers are looking for him in the wrong place and may never find him. He must take action, or surely die. His only choice is to attempt to scale the sheer rock face, despite his injuries.
I went into panic mode, thinking, if I'm gonna survive this, I gotta try and get out. I knew I couldn't go down, it was out of the question. And I kind of surveyed the landscape above me. And I said, I'll try this way, up and to the left, as I face the mountain.
But with a badly damaged spine and broken wrist, every inch Charlie climbs is agony.
My hand is broken, so it's most difficult. You're kind of hugging these rocks one-handed. It was just very tough. I made it under, around, over these humongous boulders. I scrambled over, 3 or 4 rocks. And then just, I couldn't go up anymore. Didn't know what to do, so I just sat on the rock right where I was kind of like trapped. I was trapped on an even smaller rock, and I thought I couldn't go down and couldn't go up. I was literally stuck even in a worse spot. And it was early evening, and so I didn't know what to do. And so I made the decision, well, I'm just gonna stay here. What else can I do?
Charlie's shattered wrist and weakness from dehydration make scaling the near vertical cliff face impossible. Away from the shelter of his tent, he is now totally exposed to the icy wind, and the temperature plummets.
It was just so uncomfortable. Not only could you not sleep, but you're just uncomfortable in the position you were. And I thought it was, you know, I didn't think I was gonna make it. A, I was so uncomfortable. B, they stopped looking for me. So I just laid awake all night, looked at the moon.
That was the darkest time, I'd say. I was very discouraged at that point. I did not sleep well during those nights. I thought something had happened, that I would never see Charlie again.
As the night wears on, exposed to the freezing temperatures, Charlie risks dying of hypothermia.
It was the longest night of my life. I had to stay awake all night. Didn't have to, had no choice. I wrote a few things out, you know, like a lousy attempt at a will, because I thought it was all over, and I just kind of, you know, divvied up the little things I have to people I know and love. It's an awful feeling. I hear this plane, and he's at, you know, he's above me. This guy is, you know, almost at my sight. And so I got my fishing pole with my stuff sack on, and I'm waving it. I'm here. And then he goes by, and I wasn't sure he saw me. Over here. So then he turns around, he comes like right toward me again. Wave my bag. He does the wing dip, you know, like you see on Star Wars and that. And I just thought that was the best thing that ever happened right there.
After nearly a week, trapped alone on a small rock ledge, Charlie Hench is finally found. Following a gut instinct, his friend Dave decided to search the far side of the mountain pass, close to where his brother was lost, one last time.
Well, it was pretty amazing. I mean, I guess Charlie could be described as a needle, and the mountain's a haystack, and I did find that needle in a haystack. I've actually been to the ledge where he was stuck, and I've been there during the summer, and it's a pretty scary place. Charlie could have been killed. My experience in that whole thing is that it turned out good. I mean, Charlie and I have quite a bond that we wouldn't have had before, and that's something pretty special.
When we got the call that they found Charlie, I mean, it was pure just elation. We both just fell apart.
In Utah, this iconic western landscape is the result of 25 million years of sandstone erosion, which have left deep canyons littered with boulders and pools of freezing water. It's harsh and uninhabited, which is exactly why it appeals to experienced canyoneers like Justin and Jeremy Harris.
Jeremy and I have shared a lot of experiences as we grew up as brothers.
Justin's always been an icon to me. He's always been someone that I looked up to.
Canyoneering is a passion that the brothers have shared since they were 7 years old.
We can share things that brothers don't very often get time to share.
Today they're going to tackle a remote canyon over 50 miles from the nearest town.
We were looking for something that would be a new adventure, something that was going to be a little bit more challenging.
They camp for the night and wake up to a freezing winter morning.
Hey, little brother, wake up. What time is it? It's time to go.
It had been a while since we'd been out on a hike, and November was, you know, it was a little later than we wanted to go.
It's freezing. We both had done quite a bit of winter hiking, so it wasn't something that was foreign to us, but it's definitely something that's going to complicate matters.
You sure you're up for this today?
I thought about that question, and I think, yeah, maybe part of me as his older brother thought that I needed to make the final say.
Yeah, are you? Yeah, I'm up for it. You drove all this way, right?
I made the decision that we were going to go for it that day. We started double-checking all of our equipment, making sure that we had all of the hardware that we needed, that the ropes were ready to go. Our route was going to head up towards the pinnacle and then drop down into Baptist Draw. Basically, at that point, you know, it was like a little bit of kind of elation that we'd made the decision that we were going to go forward with this.
As they race towards the canyon's entrance, it's Jeremy, the younger brother, who's at a disadvantage. As a child, he suffered from a debilitating hip condition that led to a full hip replacement when he was only 21.
All of my growing up years, it was something that dictated what I was able to do and what I wasn't able to do.
Hip acting up? It's never liked the cold.
Jeremy's really suffered, and I was always a little bit in awe of the fact that with his artificial hip, he would push himself, and he would find a trail, or he would find a new peak that he hadn't climbed yet.
The brothers plan to follow a circular route. The descent into Upper Chute Canyon will take them 500 feet below the surface. To get back out, they must look for the side canyon at Chute Junction.
The scary element about technical canyoneering is once you go over a rappel, unless you leave your climbing rope there, you have no way back out. You have no choice but to continue.
The canyon has proven to be far more difficult than the brothers expected. They're now hours behind schedule.
The tension was increasing, the pressure was on. We really needed to get a move on. Well, it wasn't more than 100 yards, and we ran into a huge chokestone.
No, that's not on the trail notes.
It becomes basically a barrier that you need to climb up and over.
Got some water.
The last thing we wanted to do was fall down into one of these pools and get wet.
This looks pretty good. I think I can take this. Well, let me get back up there.
I was confident that we could down climb it and not have any problem.
Jeremy, wait! Ah! Jer! Jeremy! Jeremy!
I remember when I heard that splash, that was the last thing that I wanted to hear at that point.
Jeremy! 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 Jeremy, are you okay? Are you okay? I can't believe I just did that. Hold on, dear, I'm coming.
Both hypothermia and frostbite were a major concern. It's the end of November and it's in Utah. I don't know exactly what the temperature was during the day, but it was well below freezing.
Freezing? There's no way we're climbing out of here.
Just double time the rest of the canyon. Get back to camp.
Dusk is just 3 hours away and the temperature's dropping fast. Justin and Jeremy will have to move even quicker now if they're to have any chance of getting out of the canyon before dark.
More fire. Hot cuts are really good right now.
I think we were even in a bigger hurry after that happened. I know I definitely was.
All right.
Now the weather, which has been deteriorating all day, takes a dramatic turn for the worse.
It probably wasn't 10, 15 minutes before there was maybe an inch of snow. It was very cold. And then we hit another big chokestone. I remember looking down over the back of it and looking at that pool and thinking, oh great, water again.
You think this canyon has something against us, do you?
Yeah, I think it might just.
It was a very tricky down climb, even though it wasn't far. There were very few handholds and very few places to stand on the way down.
And footing was a little slippery because of the snow.
I'm glad you were there.
And I remember just holding on to his hand because that was the firmest thing that I had to hold on to.
Okay.
I remember feeling a shift in his movement and believing he was going to jump to the floor because it really wasn't that far. I let go.
And the next thing I know, I'm basically falling.
Justin!
I knew without a doubt I had just broken my leg, and all I could do was scream. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life.
Just stop screaming, you gotta calm down!
I had never quite heard someone scream in pain like that. It was a really helpless feeling to hear him scream like that in pain and not be able to do anything for him.
Just take it easy, bro! Stop, get up and help me! Take it out of the water! Come on!
And I could really feel how bad he was hurt. It was very obvious that that there were things in places where they shouldn't be.
It's really bad, Justin.
Justin's shin bone is shattered in 6 places. Internal bleeding is already restricting blood flow to other parts of his body. They don't know it, but this injury could kill him.
Okay. What time is it?
I remember thinking that my brother has an artificial hip.
4-5 hour trek back to the car.
When I looked in Jeremy's eyes, I could tell just how scared he was.
Really bad.
You got maybe an hour of light.
I was gonna leave him there and hike out, which is really hard to do. For the fact that, 1, it's my brother that I know and love very much, and 2, that real soon I'm gonna be by myself.
Okay, you're gonna have to move me. Up against the wall, out of the wind.
You ready?
Okay, just do it, do it!
I think both of us knew just how serious of a situation we were in.
Justin's in real danger. Between his injured leg and the freezing temperatures, his chances of survival decrease with every passing hour. Jeremy needs to move on. It's another 4 miles to the side canyon exit, and the light is fading fast.
That's the side canyon there, right?
I'll just crow's nest it up here. Double time it back to the car. Call for help.
Yeah, just take it one step at a time. How you feeling?
Good. good, considering I've never been this scared.
When we started divvying things out and going through the backpack, we came across my camera. And one of the last things that we did was take a picture of each other, because I remember saying, well, we better take a picture of each other if we don't ever see each other again.
I thought that maybe I might never see him again. And those things, yeah, those things go through your head.
Remember what I was saying about you being my least favorite brother?
I never liked you much either.
Hey, chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think the hike's going so far? Be careful.
Okay.
I could see him for a while before he went out of sight. And I remember telling him, think happy thoughts. And you can do it.
According to the trail notes, Jeremy should be out of the canyon in 4 hours. But so far, the route has proven more difficult and far slower than expected.
I think we were both pretty confident that I was going to be out soon and I could call someone and we'd get him out of that canyon. Had no idea what was really going to happen.
Deep in the canyon, Justin is beginning to realize just how badly his leg is hurt.
I start feeling this interesting sensation, and I haven't checked on my leg in a while, but it feels like maybe I'm bleeding. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing these blisters, these huge blisters that are coming to the surface on my leg. They're rupturing and the fluid is running down my leg. And the swelling has gotten a lot worse. And I didn't know exactly what to make of this. I knew it couldn't be good.
Swelling in Justin's broken leg has created so much pressure that blood fluids have burst the veins and capillaries to create fracture blisters. If infection sets in, Justin could lose his leg.
Hey, little brother. Wake up. What time is it? Time to go.
I burnt almost everything. Burnt my pants and burnt my jacket, but thankfully didn't start on fire myself. So I put myself together and headed back to where I'd left off.
Jeremy should have been out of the canyon by now, but in the dark and without trail notes, he has missed the side canyon exit. Now his every step takes him further away from civilization and any hope of rescue for his brother. Justin is starting to succumb to the effects of immobility and bitter cold. He can feel himself slipping into unconsciousness.
I know that if I fall asleep, if I get too comfortable, I might not wake up. And I'm thinking, I have to come up with something that's going to keep me sharp, that's going to keep me from going into shock. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my family, my wife and my 4 children. And the thought comes to me, just repeat over and over again their names and their birth dates.
Madison Patricia Harris.
April 5th, 2000.
Tanner Justin Harris.
July 28th, 1996.
Mackenzie Susan Harris. Mackenzie Susan Harris. May 1st, 1995.
And my oldest boy, Skylar Christopher Harris.
Skylar Christopher Harris, December 3rd.
And I knew if I can do this 100 times and I don't get anything wrong and I don't forget what I'm doing, then I'm doing okay.
Deep inside the canyon, Jeremy hits a series of sharp drops, and for the first time realizes that he is completely lost.
I'm going the wrong way.
There were definitely points that made me strongly question that I was not in the right place.
Maybe I veered off.
Jeremy's exhaustion is adding to his confusion. Instead of listening to his instincts, he plows on, getting further and further from the canyon's only exit.
Something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. But I hadn't seen my side canyon.
And the terrain is getting worse and worse. In daylight, this climb would be a challenge. In the dark, it's practically suicidal.
Patricia Harris. April 5th, 2000. Mackenzie Susan Harris. Mackenzie Susan Harris. May 1st, 1995. Skylar Christopher Harris. December 3rd. Patricia Harris.
I got stuck. And all of a sudden I realized that one of my worst fears is happening, that I might be starting to lose grip on the situation. And that really scared me. And so as painful as it was, I pretty much forced myself to stand up and endure some pain to try and get my system in check. Pain would just shot right up in through my nerves, right up into my knee. It was terrible, but it woke me up.
At the bottom of the canyon, Justin's battle for survival has become one of sheer will and faith in his brother.
I knew he would do everything that he possibly could to get out of that canyon and to get help in for me. I knew he wouldn't give up, no matter what.
It's really hard to convey to someone how exhausted I was. I'd gone so far beyond what I had imagined my limits were. I wasn't sure whether I should believe that it was really there or not. And I approached it, and it really was. I hadn't really even thought about my own physical condition. I was a wreck, and kind of amazed at the fact that I was even alive.
It should have taken Jeremy just 5 hours to reach their camp. Getting lost means it's taken over 26.
I open the car and grab his cell phone, and it's dead. Plug it into the car lighter to get some power and waited a minute.
After the superhuman effort that Jeremy has made to escape the canyon, he faces a final cruel twist of fate.
I couldn't get any service. I remember holding the phone up over the top of the car and couldn't get a signal.
As Jeremy tries to get through to help, Justin is struggling just to get from 1 hour to the next.
All you want to do is lay down and just go to sleep for a little while. And I thought about just how easy that would be. And I'm hoping that I can go through another hour. I can get through 2 hours, and then you get through that hour, and time passes.
Justin is beginning to realize that he faces another night in the canyon, a night he does not expect to survive. As the sun rises after a second night exposed to sub-zero temperatures, and with no idea if his brother is alive or dead, Justin knows he cannot survive much longer.
Hello? Hello? Oh! Hey.
And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a face pop around this boulder. And I think we were probably both pretty surprised to see each other.
Justin, we see you. He's right over there. Base, we found him.
And it was like, you know, they're here. They made it. They made it down. It was wonderful.
So how are you feeling?
When I first got to Justin, just looking at him, I thought, boy, he's doing pretty good.
Well, aside from the shivering, I'm okay.
Shivering, it means that he is maintaining his core temperature on his own, so that was a good sign to me.
My brother Jeremy, where's he?
He needed some medical attention.
Why, what happened?
No, he just got into a little disagreement with the canyon over who was tougher. But he's gonna be okay.
I was overcome with emotion. For the first time, I knew that you know, he was out for sure, and I'm getting out of here now.
Right. Let's take a look at that leg.
I cut up his pant leg just enough to expose the injury where his leg was, and it just totally took me by surprise. As soon as I saw his leg, I knew that we had a very serious situation.
Although Justin seems okay, toxins and poisons have built up in his shattered leg to such a degree that moving him risks releasing them into his system.
When your blood doesn't circulate down through your body continuously, acids build up in your body, and if they are rapidly released back into the system, they'll go to your heart and it'll kill you. I really thought at that time, he has a really high potential of losing his leg, but even more so of losing his life.
How bad is it?
I'm gonna get you some morphine before we move you.
At that point, I knew that it really was bad.
I need to get my patient out of here right now.
And I was probably a lot worse off than I thought I was.
Yeah, thanks.
And that was kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Good to go.
I'm laying flat on my back, and you know, for the first time, I'm getting a pretty good view of the canyon that we came down to see, and so I'm kind of looking around, and it's a nice canyon. When we finally got up over the lip of the canyon wall, all I could see was a bunch of faces that I didn't know, and they were all looking at me and smiling.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
You do great.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Justin, would you like to speak to your wife?
I says, yeah, I want to talk to her.
Trish?
And Tricia says, hey, are you okay? And I says, yeah, I'm alive. I love you, and I'm alive.